Okay, before I get started and tell you about the property, I wanted to answer a viewer question. As you know, I have an IBC tank here, and that's an IBC. Sometimes I rattle through it and nobody really can hear what I'm saying. And it holds 275 gallons of water. This is a food grade tank. That's important because if you buy something else, it could have chemicals in it. We have another IBC tank down there for the chickens. It's not food grade. Some sort of epoxy was in it when we bought it. We had to clean it out, and we put the chickens in there, and it smelled like paint. A lot of fumes, but I wouldn't want to drink out of that ever. So I fill this every day. The sun is mostly sunny, and even on days that it's got a good portion of clouds, if I think I can get a good charge on my batteries, I'll go ahead and fill this too. The reason I fill it every day is in case something happens to the well. The pump goes out, the batteries don't work, the solar panels don't work, generator, something, something goes wrong. Then I still got a good supply of water to rely on until I can get the repairs made. Another example is sometimes we get these gully washers that I just can't do anything about. Just got one recently. It was the worst rain I've ever seen here, and it got the water dirty for a few days. Fortunately, everything worked out and it cleared up on its own, so I didn't have to worry about it. But during those 4 days, it was cloudy. I had to make sure that I had enough water to get through the cloudy days because I wasn't going to fill on a generator. Generator costs money. So there's 275 gallons here. I think I may have mentioned that. That isn't a lot of water for most people. Most people could go through this in 2 days. I think the average water use per person is over 100 gallons per day. So here we are, Carolyn and me, on 275 gallons, and we don't hardly touch it. We use less than 20 gallons a day, and that is important to know how much water you use and how to conserve water. It's vital that you know this if you're going to live off grid. Now, there are some people who are preppers and they buy an IBC tank, fill it up, and that's their backup supply. It's not going to last long. I don't know how long they expect to last, but if you're out of water for 2 weeks, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it a week. And there's no criticism here, but if I'm not mistaken, there's a family that has contacted me occasionally, and they use an IBC tank, and I think they go fill it once a week. But Carolyn and I had to learn how to conserve water when we were nomads. We would get 40 gallons that had to last 2 weeks because we didn't have enough room to store water in our pickup truck. We had a truck camper on this little 4-cylinder, and we had to consider everything: propane, our weight, the 200 pounds the camper weighed, water, clothes, everything, refrigerator, meat. We've gotten pretty good at saving water. Now, one of the things we do is to save water is our toilet water usage is pretty low. We try to collect any kind of water we can for toilet water. For example, when we do laundry, we'll fill that bucket up, the bucket that we're going to use to flush the toilet, with the rinse water, with the water that comes out of the wash machine. The wash machine uses about 40 gallons. Now, we only do laundry maybe once a week or so, but then we do other things to conserve water also. I try to collect rainwater. That way, when there's sorry about the wind. That way, when there's an extended cloudy period and we aren't able to collect any water from the wash machine, or when we take showers, we try to collect the water for the toilet. I collect rainwater from this, and I can fill a bucket up, and we can use that to flush the toilet. Carolyn, when she does dishes, she has these 2 plastic bins that she bought from, I think, Dollar Tree, if I had to guess. And she fills those up, heats the water up on the stove. So this right here, so she's only using maybe a gallon and a half of water to do dishes. And there's some days that she'll skip doing dishes, so think about that, because she doesn't have enough to really use water for. So she'll do, dishes every 2, maybe 3 days to conserve water. So I fill a bucket up and bring it in here, and she can dip it up as she needs. And this bucket of water that she uses probably lasts a week to do dishes. Now, here recently, and this is the caveat that I should mention, With chickens or livestock of any type, you're going to use more water. So anything I'm talking about excludes water for the chickens, because she does use quite a bit of water from that bucket for the chickens, the little chicks that we just got, because they dirty up their water pretty bad. And so she cleans it out regularly. Now, as far as the other chickens, I have been known, when it's really cloudy for long periods of time, to not bother with getting well water with the chickens. I just go ahead and use this. And you can strain out the leaves and stuff, and it's actually pretty clean on the surface. The dirt is actually on the bottom. And the thing is when I think about the chickens, when it rains really hard and there's puddles of mud, you figure they go to the bathroom right there on the ground. They'll avoid drinking out of the bucket of water that I give them, and they'll drink that muddy water until it's gone. So I don't know how to avoid that. So I figure if they can drink that stuff and stay healthy, they can drink this rainwater. One of the issues that I have with this tank, I was told by all my subscribers that I had to cover the IBC tank or paint it black or something so the sun wouldn't make the water turn into algae. Algae grows in that. So I did, I put a box in it. Well, algae still grows in it. The problem with it is the water heater has a little screen inlet. I've thought about putting a filter in it. Carolyn said no, she didn't want to bother with that. So only in the summertime, I should say, about every month, I got to clean that little screen out of algae. So I try to avoid that. So I put bleach in this. You can put bleach in water to purify it and to kill the algae. Here's the thing about bleach. I used to do it every time I would fill it. You go to the government website, like, I don't know, just Google it. How much bleach do you put in water? And it'll tell you. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to be held responsible for misinformation and getting somebody sick, but it really isn't a lot of bleach. So I used to put this in every time I filled it. Well, what I noticed is, I guess maybe I'm allergic to it or something. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. But when I would take a shower, I would start sneezing just uncontrollably. And then after you get out of the shower, your nose would run all day long, like you had a cold. We isolated it down. I think Carolyn's the one that finally figured it out, what was causing my issue. I stopped putting bleach in it, and sure enough, I could take showers again. Now, the bleach will evaporate out of here. That's what I didn't understand. Within a few hours, it should evaporate out. If you bleach water in a pot, let it kill the bacteria, and then boil the water, which I don't know why you would boil it, because boiling it purifies it also, but why not just boil it? But anyway, you can boil it, and that bleach will evaporate out. As far as drinking water, we have the Berkey, so I'm not concerned about our drinking water. We're perfectly safe with the Berkey. What I started doing is once a month during the summer only, I will put bleach in this to kill out the algae so I don't have to clean that screen so much. But it just now started turning a little bit warm, and I already had to clean out that screen in the water heater, probably a week ago. But I do know that algae will grow in this even in the dark. So don't let the people on the internet tell you to build a box around it or paint it. It may slow down the growth of algae, but you're still going to get algae. The key is to understand your usage. Here's what I say about prepping and stockpiling. If you're asking questions like, how long does my water last? That doesn't answer your question. I can tell you, yeah, it lasts 2 weeks. But for you, it may be much different, and probably is much different. People get accustomed to using water, and it's hard to cut back. People don't even know where to start with cutting back water. Carolyn, fortunately, I've had the advantage of being with Carolyn. She bought a piece of property years ago, 8 acres, and they put a mobile home on it. But they didn't have the money, they just put a huge down payment on a piece of property and a mobile home, and they didn't have the money for a well. So it took them, I don't remember, but a few years to get a well finally drilled in it. So they would have to go get water. You go to a neighbor's house or rest stops, state parks to get water, and they would fill buckets up and fill their barrels up and different things. So they had to learn how to use a minimal amount of water. So Carolyn's really good at it. What I would suggest is if you want to start prepping and you want to have a stockpile of water, which I'm not a big fan of stockpiling, but I do understand the need for water, even for a little power outage. I get it. You may want to shut off your faucet, shut off the inlet to your house after you fill your IBC tank, and just live off the IBC tank until it runs out of water. Then you'll know, oh, it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks, whatever it is. Maybe you can learn how to minimize water. I mean, when we take showers, we shut the water up. Well, Carolyn does, I don't. I used to when we were nomads, but I don't anymore. I don't care. We got plenty of water. But she'll shut the shower off, lather up, and turn it back on to rinse off. And she hardly uses any water in the shower. She kind of frowns that I use so much water, but I figure, what's the point? I'm the one that's filling this. It doesn't matter how much water we use, but we are in a conservative mode. As long as we can get the sun to come up about every week or so I can fill this back up, it's not an issue. Now, I do keep it covered, and the other thing you want to consider is wintertime. If you're stockpiling water and you lose electric in the winter, which is actually the only time I can remember in my life when I lost electric for a significant amount of time, multiple days, was in a big snowstorm. I mean, the utility companies couldn't come out to us. It was drifting snow. It was terrible. So if the water had been outside, it would have froze. We wouldn't have had any. Fortunately, we were in city water, but I'm just using this as an example. If you're going to be without electric or water in the wintertime, this is going to freeze. You have to figure out a way to keep it warm. And I would suggest, again, test yourself. We can get down to negative, I think 4 degrees. I think I said 4 degrees before this plumbing, not the IBC tank, but the plumbing freezes up. So we have a backup to that. We can actually run the well into the house. The well won't ever freeze. I got a little hole drilled in the pipe. It drains out every time I use it. Now, I also have multiple filtrations. I told you about the Berkey. And I purify, you can purify it with bleach. But I also have this filtration, house filtration that I use. This one has a sediment filter, and this one's a carbon filter. That helps the Berkey's lifespan, so I don't have to buy those Berkey filters all the time. If I can clean up a lot of the dirt or garbage or whatever through those filters, it expands the life of the Berkey. As you know, I live near a town that used to be incorporated, and they voted, I think in 2015, to unincorporate the town. So that meant any public services. Now this town is very small, so that meant any public services that the town had ceased to exist. No more mayors, no more road crews, or whatever they had. There wasn't anything like that. Well, they also had a city park, and I've taken you down to the city park before. So when they unincorporated the city park, I don't know who owned it. I don't know if anybody owned it. The city park was being maintained by the folks in the town. They'll cut the grass. I read an article on the city's Facebook group page but a post that somebody stole the swings off the swing set in this park, and they were very upset about it. Town people were. So I've showed you, they've repaired all that, fixed the slide, fixed the swings. So it was being used. Now down there was a natural spring, and the natural spring had this nice little setup where you could fill your buckets of water or do your laundry on the other side. And the kids, it had broken, and I would dam it up, and the kids would take the dam down. But in the end, it would work. You could get water out of it. Well, I heard a while back that the school district in this county wanted to buy that. And the first thing I thought is, well, how are you going to buy it? Nobody owns it. Who owns it? So I got to thinking about this, and I would imagine that since they're the county, they can just take it. If nobody owns it, then doesn't it just default to the county? I don't know how that works. So I just went down there a little while ago to do this video, and they had no trespassing signs up everywhere. Now, again, I don't really know who bought it, but since I do know the school is wanting to get it, the school district, I would assume they got it. This is a kind of a frustration for me. I mean, that was a nice park that townspeople were taking care of. I realize The town was unincorporated. They chose to unincorporate it. But I don't see why the government gets to own everything. Why couldn't it just be there? It's been around there for a couple 100 years, 150 years. I don't know how long. But that natural spring, you could tell, was built a long time ago. And so the government just sweeps in and gets it. It was a good backup source of water for us. But now there's no trespassing signs. I won't be able to get water there if anything ever happened. Now there's another natural spring about 6 miles away. I mean, it's a lot further and I would have to drive to it. So this just makes it more important for us to have a good sound water supply from our well. I mean, I have concerns about our well, but Carolyn and I both believe it'll last the rest of our lives. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about my health. So I hope I can inspire you to think about your water usage. Sing Love Your Dreams. Thanks for watching.